Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1531.
Attention to details.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. I'm revved up and very excited to share with you today a very special guest calling in from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where it's probably a little more sunny than it is here in Gig Harbor, Washington, Tom Clark. Tom is a minority partner at Motorcar Gallery, where they have over 200 years of combined in-house exotic, vintage, and collector car experience. From the common to the obscure, the team helps navigate your collector car journey through values, inspections, finance, transportation, storage, and the maintenance of your vintage automobiles. He was born into a collector car family. His father was a car collector and an SCCA National Champion in Formula C. Tom has raced with SCCA since the early 80s, was their Rookie of the Year in the Florida region in 1985 and competed in Formula Renault. In 2005, he began competitive driving instruction and coaching. He's been involved in the automotive industry since the early 70s, buying and selling Ferraris and many other marques. We'll be back in a minute to talk to Tom, but first, a word from our valued sponsors that make this show possible. We'll be right back. Hey, Cars Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Covercraft. I've protected my vehicles with their products for decades. Want to keep your vehicle's interior looking new? It's easy with Covercraft seat covers. They'll protect your seats from the daily abuse of pets, children, weekend adventures, and even those everyday spills. It's a fast, easy, and inexpensive way to keep your vehicle looking new. All Covercraft seat covers are easy on, easy off design that are machine washable. You can choose from many fabric options, colors, and accessories, all designed and carefully sewn for your special vehicles. Their seat gloves are semi-custom fit for cars and trucks, and their seat savers, a favorite of mine, are custom tailored to fit your seats like a glove. Work truck seat covers are tough, durable, denim weight fabric. It's like putting a pair of rugged jeans on your truck's seats. Want to stay warm? Covercraft also offers seat heaters. Covercraft is the right choice. Learn more today at covercraft.com and tell them Mark at Cars Yeah sent you. That's covercraft.com. Are you a Cars Yeah subscriber? If you're not, go to carsyeah.com, click on the free book button, and I'll send you my free filler up book. It's a very cool book I created of fuel filler fun, some very cool imagery, and great quotes from past guests here on Cars Yeah. Plus, you'll get my weekly email follow-up and my weekly blog. Just go to carsyeah.com, click on the free book button, and I'll send it to you right away. Thanks for subscribing. Hey, Tom, welcome to Cars Yeah. My friend, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
Got the 6-point harness on, tight and ready.
All right. There we go. I'll try to keep it between the guardrails so nothing bad happens to us today. Before I jump into some of the questions I have so we can learn more about you, tell our listeners one thing that most people don't know about Tom.
Well, I wear a cowboy hat daily, and most people think, why do you wear a cowboy hat? Well, two reasons. One, I'm bald, and we have a lot of sun down here in Florida.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
Second, we do have a family cattle ranch, 400 acres up in Okeechobee, Florida, that have about 170 head on it. It's a minor business, not part of my day-to-day operations, but it is something that we have. So the cowboy hat is real.
Yeehaw! I love it. Now, do you wear boots that go with that hat?
Nope. Down here in Florida, it's flip-flops. So
flip-flops.
Flip-flops and the cowboy hat.
I'm chuckling a little bit because my dad grew up in Texas, and on a farm, they raised cattle and wheat, soybean, and he was one of 5 kids who came out west, and I was born and raised in California, and so I grew up with flip-flops and a surfboard. Never a cowboy hat, but my wife has this picture of me way back in, I think I was in high school, junior high, visiting my grandparents' farm, and I'm standing there with shorts on, kind of like my swim shorts, and I was probably a hang ten shirt back then, and a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. I look like a total doofus. But I love cowboy hats, and I kind of wondered when you sent me your pictures that'll be on your show notes page in the Cars Yeah website, what is with the hat? Now, before I ask you this first question, though, you and I were chatting. You put on a very cool event earlier that involved motorcycles, right?
Yeah, once a year at the ranch, we have sanctioned by the Florida Trail Riders. We call it the Snake River Hare Scramble. And this year we had a terrific year. We broke all the records. We've been doing it for 16 years. And this year we had 759 dirt bike riders.
What? Over 700? Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yep. There's 55 different classes all the way from Pee-wee up to the AA pros. And the trail riders groom on the 400 acres, a 14-mile course through the woods, through the fields, through the rivers. I mean, it's a hare scramble. So what they do, it's pretty neat. They start off with what we call a Le Mans start. Everybody lines up in their class 10 feet away from their bike. They shoot the horn and they're off, and they have to start the bike. So the bikes aren't running. They have to get up there, kickstart the bike, and go. Some of the bikes now have electric start, but they go for the whole shot, and it is just crazy exciting. So we have a lot of fun doing that, and a lot of people are really into the dirt bike riding today. It's getting harder and harder to find places to ride, so they're very appreciative that we open up the ranch once a year just for that.
What a marvelous event. Like in our pre-show chat, I was mentioning I used to ride dirt bikes way back when in the olden days and really love it. And I have a friend up here, Matt Sweet, wonderful guy, works for a big title company, but he and his kids dirt bike ride. And I've got other friends that still do that. And one of my best friends who I used to ride with back in junior high and high school still rides today. Maybe I need to think about getting back on a bike, but then again, we were talking about getting a little old. I don't know if my body could take a fall very well.
Yeah, I took a big spill 10 years ago, broke 5 ribs. And so my mantra now is, with age comes a cage.
With age comes a cage. Well, nice segue, my friend, into this next question. And that is, I would love for you to share a mantra, maybe something, that's pretty positive, but something else or a quote, something that is instrumental in your life. A nice way to get the tires turning here on Cars Yeah. Or we'll call it Motorcycles Yeah, a twist to the wrist. So, Tom, grab the wheel or the handlebars.
Well, but automobiles have been a big part of my life. And the earliest memories are of my dad racing. So I always followed the race circuits even as a young kid. And one of my heroes back in the day as a driver was Roger Penske. One of my mantras is a quote from him regarding his success in life. And it's basically 3 words: attention to details. So that's how I try to do everything today. And it stems from delivering a car and making sure the car is detailed. And I always have to point that out to the people that are buffing and washing the cars. It's all in the details. Get that inner fender well. Get those door jams, hinges, so that the grease is there but not all over the place, things like that. And then that just segues into the whole business in trying to make sure that the details are always covered, making sure that all the paperwork is correct, and making sure that histories are known on every car, and making sure that the bathrooms are clean. Attention to details throughout the whole in all of life. So
it equates to another wonderful Penske quote: effort equals results. His quotes are great about few words but great meaning, if you will. But I love the attention to detail. It's something my father taught me, being an architect and an artist. There's that old Mies van der Rohe saying, God is in the details. You always see that when you go into a company or you deal with any company. When they don't cross their T's and dot their I's, when all those little details are kind of falling apart, you realize, okay, what else is going wrong? I have a friend who, if she goes to a new restaurant, first thing she does is go into the bathroom. And if the bathroom is a mess, she leaves. She said, if this is the way they keep the area that the guests see, I wonder what the kitchen is like. So probably not a bad way to think. Well, let's talk a little bit about Motorcar Gallery. I would love for you to share with the listeners all the different things that you guys do, the different kinds of cars you deal with. I mentioned in the opening bio here all the different services and things you do. But what has you excited and fired up these days about Motorcar Gallery?
Well, we've been around since 1985, and probably the most exciting thing today is seeing the younger generations come in and have a full understanding of a lot of the older cars. We started off in the collector car business years ago with my partner, Ed Waterman, started off with a Maserati 3500 GT that he imported after a college trip to Europe. And he just started that with that one car, sold it at a profit, reinvested it, and kept it going. Those are the type of cars that have really made Motorcar Gallery over the years. And we've sold some fantastically important cars, from the Aga Khan's Maserati 5000 to Ferrari TDFs to 500 superfast Ferraris, all kinds of different cars, and a lot of different cars in between, from restored Jaguars. I'm looking on the showroom floor right now. We have a beautiful 70 Italia, Intermeccanica Italia, which just one of the most beautifully penned cars. The actual size of the car is very similar to the Daytona Spider Ferrari and the Maserati Ghibli Spider. So this is a car that is actually as pretty, if maybe not prettier, than those two cars. So that's an important car. And those are part of the things that have really made Motorcar Gallery. Now, one of the things that we're excited about is this generation that's coming up. And, I've had kids in here as young as 3-4 years old. I even videotaped this one little kid. He knew every single car, and he was 3 years old. Mommy, yeah, Porsche 356. Mommy, Maserati Bora, things like that. So,
holy cow.
Oh, it was amazing. But I also see it to the kids up to, in their mid-20s. They just know everything about the car. Oh, yeah, the 488, that's got, that's over 600 horsepower now, twin turbo. It's different than the 458 that's normally aspirated. But, it blows my mind. Now, I have to let you know, unfortunately, we've got, I call it a generation skip, because some of the millennials we're in an urban area down here in Fort Lauderdale. It's gorgeous, right at downtown Fort Lauderdale. We've got a lot of residential area around us. It's very safe. It's improved quite a bit over the years. And some of these millennials on their scooters or, in their BMWs, they'll park, because we're downtown. They park right in front of our showroom door and walk away. And I go,
oh no.
Yeah. You have to get up and go, what are you doing? Oh, I didn't think this was a business. I thought this was a museum. And, it's like, hello,
okay.
Motorcar Gallery, showroom entrance,
yeah.
But that's okay. I don't want to stereotype on the millennials. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that love cars and everything. But
yeah, it's an education process.
Sure. And what's amazing is these younger people, and I see a lot of them that have come in from the cruise ships that are on vacation. Mom and dad bring them in here and talk about cars. Oh, my kids just love the cars, So we always welcome everybody into the dealership, and we make sure that everybody that walks away is walking away with a little bit of a tidbit of information. And we always give them that opportunity of saying, if you see a car out in your neighborhood and you think that it would be a car that would work for us, please knock on a door, or if it's a garage sale, ask them what's underneath the cover and see if it's a car for sale, and pay you a bird dog to if we're able to buy the car. Just give us the information where it is, and that's worked. It's worked, and it's a lot of fun when it does. And when you give a 15-year-old kid a check for $500-600, it's a blast.
Oh yeah,
and everything.
That'll great to make a date. Well, let me ask you this. Because obviously times they are a-changing, and when you look at the collector car market and you talk about different generations, XYZ, millennial, and who knows what's coming up next, are you seeing a transition, let's say in the last 2 or 3 years, specifically, because up until what's happening now with this virus, the economy was just rip-roaring and things were so wonderful and delightful, and then, we get walloped real big here. we'll get behind this, or this will get behind us, I should say. We're already behind it. But let me ask you this. Are you seeing a change in the types of cars that you sell, migrating into what I see even on concours fields with later cars happening, 80s, 90s cars, Japanese cars coming in the market, so that these younger collectors can get into the hobby with things that aren't on the level of Ferrari F40s and Maseratis and some of these very, very big blue chip cars that a lot of us just can't afford.
Right. Well, absolutely. And what we're seeing now, we've never dealt in pre-war cars, but I have been told that the Duesenbergs and the Packards and that era of car, that market is dwindling. I mean, it's only
well, yeah. The people who love those are passing away because time is moving on.
And we dealt sort of a little bit out of the norm in early Rolls Royces. We dealt in 50s and 60s Rolls Royces for years and years. In fact, when the crash of the 90s happened with some of the exotics, the Rolls and Bentley early stuff kept us going. Unfortunately, we see that market dwindling also. Those people are getting older and not as active and passionate about the cars anymore. I've sold cars to some Silver Clouds and Silver Wraiths and really neat coach-built Rolls Royce and Bentleys over the years. It's a market that we've kind of backed away from just because it's not as active and quite frankly, with not
as big a supply anymore. Yeah,
well, there's that,
demand,
and with 5,800 square feet of showroom right in downtown, a Rolls Royce takes up a lot of room.
Oh yeah, you park two cars. You park one of those
exactly.
Yeah.
But the getting back to what's happening in the market, you're exactly right. A lot of the younger people are getting into cars that are a little bit more affordable. One of the cars that I actually raced for years and years was a Datsun 240Z, and I bought this car in 1987 as a restoration project. And, it's a gorgeous car. It reminded me of a lot of different cars that were, 10 times the price. And so getting into it, I ended up figuring out this was beyond restoration. So we turned it into a improved touring SCCA car and had a blast with it. Now, 240Zs are really, they were a high production car, but we have seen the prices of these cars go up, and rightly so, because it is a proper GT. It's independent rear suspension. It's got a great overhead cam 6-cylinder that just growls like no end, and they're fun to drive. So, and you can either modify them or you can keep them stock. But we see a lot of activity in that market, especially from our friends to give them a plug at Bring a Trailer. They've done a terrific job, and they have really become one of the barometers that we look at today in terms of value, just because of their sheer volume that they're doing. And we've bought and sold cars on there. We bid on a lot of things, but
Randy and his team there I had Randy on my show years ago, and he announced when he was my guest that they were going to start doing online auctions. They hadn't even started that. And boy, I mean, it's just been a huge boom for him. I've had many friends who've bought and sold cars using him. I mean, the rates are low. The exposure is massive. Sometimes you have to take the comments with a grain of salt, but that's like any forum anywhere. Caveat emptor, but he's really done a fantastic job. And I love to, it gives us kind of like Sports Car Market Magazine. It gives us a taste of what reality is right now for those cars. And they've even sold some very, very high-end cars, but most of it is what I would call affordable for the normal collector, for the average collector. Yeah. And,
I like him sticking to the mantra of, cars that you have to bring a trailer for. I mean, it's just that's almost become a generic name, but it's so true. We have been watching Randy from day one, and he's done a terrific job. I think I read something that they're up to over 28,000 cars or something or other. It's just amazing.
Pretty impressive.
It is. Yeah.
For somebody that just kind of started a forum type thing talking about cars for sale to something that is a viable business. Well, that's fantastic. Well, I've got another question for you here, but first we're going to take a short break. We're going to thank our sponsors, and we'll be right back. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for the enthusiast and the collector. It's your monthly must-read whether you dream of owning a collector car, have 2 cars, or 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. Plus, you'll get the exclusive SCM guide to restoration shops included for free. At checkout, use the code CARSYEAH and receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription. It's an exclusive offer from me here at Cars Yeah. I'm Mark Green, and I love Sports Car Market magazine. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. If you're listening to Cars Yeah, you've probably spent some time working on your favorite ride. But how confident are you working on your finances? You may be able to rebuild a fuel injection system, but can you decipher the details of a mutual fund? If you're like me, investments, insurance, annuities, budgeting, and other financial concepts may seem a bit daunting, but what if I told you there's a book that describes these subjects and more in an easy-to-read and a very humorous way? My friend Chris Kimball, CFP, a longtime sponsor and past guest here on Cars Yeah, has written that book, and it's titled The Saga of Ike and Penny, a couple's humorous journey through the confusing world of finance. It's a fun look at things you need to know, everything from investing to effective ways to get rid of credit card debt, and it's probably the only book on finance with a VMAX on the front cover and a classic Mini Cooper on the back. The book's available at Amazon for just $10, and this book will dramatically improve the direction of your financial future. I gave copies to each of my children. All securities are through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Christopher Kimball Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Get your copy, The Saga of Ike and Penny, today. All right, Tom, we are back, and I have a bit of a question for you. I want you to go back in time and look at a time where you were faced with a big challenge or even a big failure. This could be in life, could be in your career. Whatever it is, I want you to walk us through it. But more importantly, what was that lesson learned so you could move forward in a positive way? So take us on a journey.
Well, 1985, I was racing Sports 2000 and had already won the regional championship down here. And the last race of the day on Sunday, I was on pole. I was leading the race, and they let out a Formula Ford rookie who had an X next to his number out of the pits. And he saw me coming down the straight and immediately panicked and got off line. So,
oh no,
yes, which is what you don't do when you're racing. Well, he got offline,
especially when you're entering a hot track.
Right. Well, he got offline right in front of me, and I was doing about 110, and I had nowhere to go but to crawl over top of him. So I was literally the only thing that kept the car from going over was the gearbox dragged on put a good chunk out of the course. This is at Moroso International Speedway.
Oh yeah,
now called Palm Beach International.
Track.
So
yeah, I've been there, driven on that track. It's a great track.
Yeah. So that was it. The guy in second place had nowhere to go after that happened and went right over my legs. Broke my ankle, but it was due to the fact that the clutch pedal crushed my ankle. But
right, yeah.
that was a big setback, because after winning the championship in that car, I was also running nationals, and I was one race away from getting into the national championship and going to the runoffs, and that set everything back. So unfortunately that happened, but we came back. We healed up, and we That's when I went to France and raced at Formula Renault for a little bit. Figured out that third is last. I came in third in a couple of races. That's
I understand.
They only look at you when you're first. After that, I decided that was, a big setback in my life. I really had aspirations of becoming a professional race car driver. I did race in IMSA GTU and did some things there, but nothing ever really panned out. But, with the help of family and also the birth of my son, I said, you know what, life carries on, and we just, we move forward and try to follow our passions in different routes. And I followed the passion in the car business, having been in the car business, but in and out, and have no regrets.
Well, it's, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It's just, being open wheel cars, those cars, and when someone comes and pulls in front of you like that and there's nowhere to go, you do, the way you said it's true, climb over the top of them. I'm so glad you didn't get hurt worse, because some of those accidents in those cars are not very protective in many ways. So I'm glad that, I know at the time it was tragic, but that was all that happened to you. Let me ask you this, because I've had a lot of professional racers on the show, hundreds as a matter of fact. What's the takeaway other than, nothing you can do when somebody pulls in front of you like that? It's not an accident or something that you caused. But what's your takeaway from when you meet with a tragic situation like that does alter your course? What would be a piece of wisdom and advice you might offer somebody that has met with something similar? It doesn't have to be racing. It could be something in their career, something in their life that gets in front of them and causes them to have to alter course. What's a positive takeaway that you could share?
Perseverance. You have to persevere. Yeah. It's, I'm sure some of the pros that you spoke to after accidents, the first thing they did was to either, jump in a go-kart or jump back in a car and get back on the course. And that's exactly what I did. I remained racing, but I persevered through it. And I think that's in life, you have to persevere. And if you just quit and just stop and give up, then that's the worst thing that can happen. Persevere, even if it means, going 90 degrees in another direction, just persevere.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple guys who come to mind, Chad McQueen, who's been on the show a couple times, horrible accident he had that really altered his course in life. He's found a new direction and course in life with what he's doing of progressing with his father's car, Friends of Steve McQueen car show, where they raised last year $1 million for the Boys Republic. Tommy Kendall, another one comes to mind, horrible accident. Even Brian Redman, an accident almost burned him alive, and finding a way to persevere and go forward. Well, let's talk about a story that instigated your personal passion for cars. Now, I know your dad was a car guy, a racer, so he must have had a massive influence, but was there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew, like Dad, I'm going to be a car guy?
Well, I think I wrote in the bio that it's in the genes. I remember one of the earliest
through the blood veins.
Sure. One of the earliest memories I had was riding around Nelson Ledges in a Lotus 18 Formula Junior that my dad raced, which was Formula C at that point, and burning my arm on in the cockpit because the actual frame, the actual tube frame was the water.
I raced one of those cars for 12 years, a Lotus 18.
Did you really? There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that was really one of my earliest memories, and that was really what got me turned into being a car guy. Now, I think I mentioned that, my dad also collected cars. He was in the machine tool business, and back then he was able to he bought a 275 GTS for like $4,500. Now that's a lot of money for a car back then, but let's put it in terms of of today. So, sure. But what ended up happening was we brought those cars down from Cleveland, Ohio to Fort Lauderdale. My dad opened up a car dealership with a gentleman named Herb Swan here, and we actually had to drive each one of those cars down. We didn't transport anything back in the day. We just drove them. And
you just drove them down? How fun was that?
Oh, yeah. I-95 ended, I think, somewhere around Daytona. And so, but we drove down from Cleveland in those cars.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's really cool.
It was. My sister got to ride in some, I got to ride in some, and we would drive down, spend the night, and fly back, and
go get another one.
Get another one, exactly.
That's cool.
It was neat times, and the only reason my dad took one of us kids just to stay awake.
Yeah, have somebody to ride with. Dad, just turn up the volume a little bit.
Sure.
Well, what was your first really special vehicle in your life? The first car you got that you look back on as the first one that really had meaning for you?
Yeah, it's I tell the story. Again, Dad, and it's Tom Sr. A lot of people know my dad in the car business. He, founding steering wheel here in Fort Lauderdale, which was the Maserati dealer. Well, when I turned 16, he made me buy my first car. It was a 190 four-door Benz. It wasn't a 190 SL or anything like that. It was just a four-door 1960 Mercedes 190. I paid $175 for it and had no clutch. It was four on the tree, so I had to put a clutch in it, and that's where I cut my teeth on doing things from a mechanical standpoint. I can do brakes, I can do clutch. I actually had to pull the cylinder head off and get new valve guides put in, and so I learned about it. It was overhead cam, so I learned about timing and things like that. So that car was special because it opened a different perspective on cars from the mechanical standpoint. And one of the things that's done is taught me how to be very gentle with cars, especially race cars. A lot of people will thrash cars very hard to get that 10th, but I always say every car, if you treat it like a beautiful woman and be very gentle, it will perform the very best for you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I know racing that Lotus 18, I had the original, not the original, but it was a Renault gearbox, very delicate gearbox. The car had the shifter on the left. The H pattern was backwards. So I always had to remember when I was going into third, it's not the upper right, it's upper left. So you don't want to go into second gear when you think you're going into third. You'll blow that thing to pieces. But it was very delicate. It even had the original shift knob on it, which was this little delicate thing, kind of a work of art. But that's Colin Chapman for you. Lightweight. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Tom. If you woke up tomorrow and you were a vehicle, you were actually manifest as a vehicle, what would you be and why?
That was a question that took a long time to
well, good. That's the way it's designed, to get you to think a little bit.
Right. Well, I can tell you I have, in the past couple of years, had a lot of time behind the wheel in two of the same car, two different Ferrari 458 Speciales. And I did a lot of instruction. I did some coaching with some people, and I gave a lot of rides. So I probably, between Homestead International and Palm Beach International Raceways, I have probably 500 laps in 458 Special.
That car is beautiful. When that car came out, it just, to me, it was a transitionary type car in my mind, because I was at the Ferrari factory when they were building the first race car versions of those. And in fact, I got to see the first 5 that they rolled out. I happened to be there the day they rolled them out. They were getting ready for the racing version, and they're beautiful cars. I love those.
Yeah, the 458's a very, very, it's actually forgiving. It's a car that is really well balanced. Now, if I've raced, or I've done some track days in 430 challenge cars, and that car can bite you. It's a very, the 360 was great. That was nicely balanced and again very forgiving, but not a lot of power. The 430 challenge car had a lot more power and was a lot more of a driver's car. You had to really drive that car, and at the edge it could bite you. Where the 458 has even Speciale had, we were running them on nearly ball tires, but it was a car that was very forgiving. Even with the nannies all turned off, the car, you could really dial in oversteer with your right foot, or you can, trail brake in hard and really it was a great car to show people what high performance driving is all about. And it was never anything, it was never a situation where it scared people. People even felt comfortable in it. So that car at this time is near and dear to my heart. I mean, obviously my favorite car of all time was the car that Sports 2000, the Tiga SC80, which was a terrific little Sports 2000 that was imported from Europe. It had competed in the English series, and so it was really well dialed in. And I was showing up to the track in 4-year-old Sports 2000, in towing the car in an open trailer behind it, my grandmother's station wagon when I was 24, and I was beating guys that had semis, full of Sports 2000s, Royales and Swifts and all that.
Cool.
And it was gratifying. So that was a car that
absolutely
was really neat. But today the 458 Speciale, I think, is something else. I've driven the 488s, never in anger around the track, but I think the sound and the linear torque on the 458 normally aspirated motor is just fantastic.
Sounds like it. Yeah, love to spend some time on the track. One of those. I've never been able to drive one. I've ridden in them, but they sound spectacular. All right. Well, we are entering the last lap, and I've got kind of a lightning round here for you. Very quick blips of that 458 throttle. So here we go. What's one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your many successes over the years?
Never give up.
The racer's creed.
Yeah, just never give up. If you blow a tire on a road trip and you want to turn around, just limp to the gas station, get a new tire, and go on.
Go on. How about if I could arrange for you to have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry, living or deceased? Who would it be?
I'd have to say it'd be Roger Penske.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. How about the best automotive advice someone else has ever given you? This could be racing advice or buying collector car advice.
Well, this is from a technician that still works for us to this day. His name is Mark Rubin. He actually worked for my father at the steering wheel in the 70s. This man is just amazing technician. And when a car is broken, he always says, the car will never win. So basically, a car can always be fixed, and that was great advice in buying cars. If you buy a car that is, let's say it's a restoration project, always have the foresight to look beyond the current condition and see what is capable of that car, and remember that it's always everything can always be fixed. And today, 3D printers are amazing, manufacturing parts and things like that. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I've had a few cars almost win over me about giving up, but yeah, you just can't give up. Going back to the racer's creed. How about a resource? Is there one out there that you would recommend to people?
Well, today our Bible here is Hemmings as far as cars go. The Hemmings. The actual print magazine, I think, still has great value. We get it once a month. In fact, we get 2 copies here because they always go missing. And from services to parts to, of course, really neat cars. And I think just a good old print Hemmings still has a lot of value. And if anybody's worth their salt, they're in Hemmings in this business. Bring a trailer. Bring a trailer again is
would be another one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How about a great book that you would recommend?
Well, the movie came out, I think, last year, but Racing in the Rain is a book that everybody that I ever recommended to that was not a car person actually became a bit of a car person. So I think the book Racing in the Rain, although it's a little darker than the movie, is really a great book to open the eyes of the car world perspective. And the movie was great. I thought the acting was good, and the racing was great. A little far-fetched, with a 35-year-old guy becoming a Ferrari Formula One driver. But in the meantime, it's a book that when a non-car person reads it, it sort of opens their eyes and says, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, great book. It's the most recommended book here on Cars Yeah. Garth Stein, the author, has been a guest here on the show. He lives up here near me in the Pacific Northwest. So I much prefer the book over the movie. Audiobook is awesome, too, for those listeners. So there you go. All right, we're up to the checkered flag here, Tom. This last question could be a bit of a doozy. I'm going to buy you a collector car today. Any collector car in the world. Could be a vintage race car, could be a street car, whatever you want. I'm going to buy it for you. But there are some rules to this game. One is you can't sell it to buy a bunch of other toys with, and you have to drive it. No garage queens. I don't think that's a problem for a guy like you. But here's the big kicker. It's the only one collector car you can have. So it needs to tick a lot of boxes. What's it going to be?
275 GTB 4Cam.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah.
The car.
Absolutely. Yeah, a beautiful car, for sure. And I understand why you would want that 4Cam GTB. I mean, they're just delightful. Now, if you could pick any color, what would you like yours to be?
Well, there's a lot of people that come into the dealership that say, oh, it's got to be Rosso Corso red, and then I get a lot of people in that come in at anything but red. But my personal favorite color of any car, it doesn't matter if it's the 4Cam or if it's Gullwing or whatever, it's silver. It's just silver to me is a subtle, striking color in just about any car.
That car works in silver. That car would work in pink. I mean, it's a great car, but I love silver as well. Well, listen, Tom, you've taken us on a great ride. This has been great fun. I really appreciate you spending some time with us and sharing some inspiration. Before I let you go, though, is there a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance you might offer our listeners out there before you rip off into the Florida sunset in a 275 Ferrari GTB 4Cam?
Well, this business, a lot of people always ask, well, what car can I buy that will, that I won't lose money on? What's a good investment car? And I always tell them the same thing. I said, the best investment car is the car that you have the most memories of. And that's if it means the first time you were in the back seat of a car with a girl, or if it's the car that you drove the strip in, or if it's a car that you went to college in. Buy a car that you have passionate memories about, and that's the car that will be the most gratifying.
That's the best advice. Well, listeners, you can learn a lot more about Motorcar Gallery on their website at motorcargallery.com. Check it out. Pour yourself a tall drink because you're going to be there a while looking at all the fun things that they have. Hey, Tom, thanks for being so generous today with your time, your expertise, and for sharing your experiences with our listeners. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Mark. Cars, yeah.
You're welcome. You betcha. Hey, Cars Yeah listeners, this is Mark Green. If you love the Cars Yeah podcast, I have something new for you. I've teamed up with Keith Martin, a collector car market expert and the editor of Sports Car Market magazine, to create the Buy, Sell, Hold podcast. Buy, Sell, Hold is the essence of collecting. Together, we take you on an educational ride into the collector car market, talking with industry experts, helping you navigate your collector car journey so you know when to buy, sell, hold. We talk with seasoned experts who buy, sell, and hold investment vehicles, and they'll share their insider secrets on how they make their buying decisions when it comes to making these important investments. You'll find the Buy, Sell, Hold podcast on the Cars Yeah website, on the Sports Car Market website, and if you're a podcast app subscriber to Cars Yeah, Buy, Sell, Hold will come right to your mobile device, just like the Cars Yeah podcast. Automatically. Join Keith Martin and me on a great new venture on the Buy, Sell, Hold podcast today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.